Hello. Hi.
Hey.
Hi. In this demo, I'm going to show you how to pull handles. So when it comes to pulling, you can create a larger mound of clay that comes to a narrower point. And I'm just cradling it in my left hand and then hitting the heel of my right hand against it at the bottom to make it come to a point. You're going to need a bucket of water. I'm going to start by getting my hand wet. And I'm just going to start to squeeze from higher up on the mound down. So I'm starting about in the middle. And I'm really just taking, you can see where the clay is collecting on my hand, my thumb on one side and my hand on the other, and squeezing that clay downward. About every 4 pulls, I'll dip my hand back in the water bucket. And now it's starting to take on more of the elephant trunk look. So now this is where you can start to decide what kind of handle you want to make. So if you want just a completely round handle, you're just going to have your index finger and your thumb do most of the work, because when they come together, they make a very oval, round shape anyways. So I'm really just pulling my thumb and index finger down over that clay while I squeeze. If you squeeze too hard, you're going to tear it off. So your pressure does need to be pretty consistent throughout the whole pull. And you'll notice that I'm rotating the mound of clay. It's because we have this flap of skin here, and it creates a weird indentation. So I like to rotate where that is so it flattens itself out, so I don't get a weird indentation on my handle. So I just keep rotating the mound. So this is just getting me a very round handle. So if you want a very rounded handle, that's how you do it. Set my mound on the side of the table. Take my fettling knife. I chop off a little bit higher than what I'm going to use. And then I will shape it into the arch. Reshape this a bit more. I'm going to grab onto the top of it, and once again get my hand wet, and I've got my thumb to one side and my index finger and the rest of my fingers to the other, and I just start squeezing down to bring this to a finer point. I'm rotating this because you can see where you'll get this kind of weird raised spot from that bit of flap that exists between your thumb and index finger. So by rotating the mound, you can knock that down every time. If it really gets aggressive, just take your thumb and find it, and you can just knock it down. Thumb to the front, fingers to the back. I'm just squeezing down. Now if I want just a flat handle, I'm going to take my middle finger and my index finger. Actually, looks like I got my other fingers are pushing up against to support that middle finger. And then you can see my thumb is holding my index finger in place. So everything's kind of playing along to help support this maneuver, but we're really focusing the pressure with these 2 fingers, middle and index. And I'm just squeezing the clay between those fingers as I move from the top to the bottom. So you can see that starting to flatten out. You'll get this high point on one side. So then I'm just going to go with my fingers to the back and my thumb to the front and just squeeze to round that. So you can see we're just getting a very flat handle. So if you want a flat handle, there you go. So if you want a handle that has this curve in the middle, like you can see on this mug here, a little more slight, but same with on this mug here. I'll usually start by flattening this a little bit. So just using my index finger with my middle finger supported by my ring finger. And I'm just squeezing pressure from the top to the bottom. You'll get these sharp edges, so make sure you go in with your thumb and index finger and just soften that. Now I'm going to support with my index finger and my ring and middle finger, and my thumb is going to start to push down in the middle. So I'm just going to make as many passes as I need to get that depth that I want. And then I'm going to soften that by coming back in with my thumb and index finger. If you want this to come to a narrower point on the bottom, you could just start to pull this bottom area. There you can see we have that nice curve on the inside. If you do not want the curve to be as deep, do not make as many passes with your thumb as I made. Then you'll have a subtler curve and these won't be as high on the outside. So for this one, I'm going to do this handle that has kind of the ridge in the middle and then it recedes down. So I am going to slightly flatten this one as well. So your index finger to the front, your ring and middle finger to the back, and you're just squeezing in between those two. Oh, I got an air bubble. Now I am going to support with all my fingers to the back of the handle, and I'm going to start pushing down on the outside with my thumb. Then I flip over and start to push down with my thumb, and it's really now just my index finger that's doing most of the support on the opposite side. And I keep flipping back and forth, pushing my thumb in while I move down the handle. Clean it up a little bit with your thumb and index finger. And you can just keep shaping it. Knock down those sharp edges. You'll also be able to knock down some of these sharp edges and alter these a bit more after they stiffen up. And even after they're on your, attached to your mug, you can keep changing their shape a bit more. Now you can see we have that nice high point in the middle, and it recedes down. If you want to do a bit of a wider handle, and I just start to squeeze down. If you squeeze too hard, you're going to misshapen it or tear it off. So your pressure needs to be pretty even. Start to do your flattening before the handle gets too thin, before you pull it down too much to thin it out. And that's going to really help you have more of that tapered look if you start with a much wider top. So I'm really starting from the base of the mound where it's already wider and doing my flattening And then I could pull this a bit more to even accentuate that flatness. So that's how you would do just a wider flat handle. Then you could come in, support on the back with your index finger and ring finger, and your thumb could start to pull a slight indent on the front if you wanted. I'm going to cut off a little bit higher. So this is going to be thicker than I want, but I can thin that out or cut some of that off. Curve it into the arch shape. But now you can see we have a bit of a wider one. Thumb and index finger to soften that. Now I'm going to do a slight bevel on the outside edges. So I'm going to just support with all my fingers to the back, and my thumb is going to start to push down, and you can see my fingers ride down on the opposite side. Now I'm going to flip my thumb to the opposite side and push in, and then I just kind of go back and forth. This will just give me a flat area in the middle and then a slight bevel to the sides. This will just give you a flat handle similar to this one, but you can see because we beveled these outside edges, it just gives it a bit more roundness and volume. Everyone, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Yay! Yay!